Lonnie.
Hey Jay.
Good to meet you.
Same here. Right.
So this is Sunsea Beat 5. You performed live last night. How was that?
Oh, it was great. You know, it took a little while to get on stage because of all that rain, but it worked out, and I was surprised. You looked out in the audience, and they all were there, so that was great.
So I wanted to talk to you about your career for Mi-Soul. So taking you sort of back to the beginning, how did it all begin for you? Did you come from a musical family? Your dad was in a band, I think, wasn't it, or group?
Right, I was, because my father was a member of the Harmonizing Four gospel group. So I mean, they were really big, and so as little kids, we come home sometime, and that'd be the Soul Stirrers, and that'd be Dixie Hummingbirds. I mean, we met, the original Blind Boy. Everybody is going crazy at that, but shoot, we saw them when we were little kids.
There were two original Blind Boys, weren't there? Two, one from Mississippi and Tennessee.
I think so. I'll do some more checking, but so we saw all that, saw all of the gospel. Sam Cooke, he's with the Soul Stirrers, and so.
So did you know Bobby Womack as well?
Well, what happened was, my father came home one time because they did gospel tours all over the United States, and he was saying, "Man, I heard these young kids, the Womack brothers, they were originally a gospel group, and then they all branched out like Sam Cooke did, and so we had the opportunity to meet them all, and that's how I started with the music." And so my father had a piano in the house, so whoever showed interest, then we could take lessons. And then, of course, we'd be out there trying to, my two younger brothers, Donald and Ray, my father has a very beautiful tenor voice, so they inherited that, but I always sang the bass. And but then when I was in high school, I heard Charlie Parker. And I said, "Oh my goodness, what is that?" They said, "That's jazz, improvisation." I said, "Okay, that's what I want to do."
Yeah, because obviously you went into jazz. That's how you first started. You got into jazz, so that's what got you into it, was it?
Right. Oh yeah, because all before that, you playing, regular top 40 songs or R&B, where back then rhythm and blues, and so. But I heard Charlie Parker. That was unbelievable. Then you start listening to everyone else.
And so, how did you get your first sort of break? When did you start actually playing professionally and stuff?
Well, they started a band in high school called the Metronome All Stars. So we named it after, I think, Billy Eckstine's big band. And then after high school, I went to Morgan State University, but doing school during the day and night. But we was hanging out, doing jam sessions. And at that time, Gary Boss was from Baltimore. So we was always just playing. And his father had a club called the North End Lounge. So we put a group together and just worked all over Baltimore, and then I got into, they had the house band is Royal Theater, but back then East City had a theater. The Howard Theater was in Washington D.C. The Royal Theater was in Baltimore. Apollo Theater was in New York. I forget the one in Regal, I think was in Chicago, and all of them had house bands. And all these top acts would come through 7 days, being there for 7 days each week. Then they go to the next venue. So I was in one of those house bands and played behind everybody, all the Motown acts, and so it was a good experience.
And then how did you get into? Because you worked with Pharoah Saunders and Miles Davis and people.
Oh
like that.
Yeah, that's when I got to New York.
Right.
After Baltimore, I went to New York and started working with Rahsaan Roland Kirk. And then a whole bunch of singers, Betty Carter, Al Hibbler, Joe Williams. But what happens is then somebody might hear you and then tell someone else. Then I get a call from Max Roach. I started working with Max Roach. And then I became a member of Art Blakely and Jazz Messengers. And in that time, I think Chuck Mangione was in the group. And then you just keep what happened. And then I think someone that told Miles, then you get a call, and that was interesting. Miles was, I guess that was icing on the cake, because everyone that played with Miles, when you left Miles, you formed your own group, and that's what each person did.
As Norman Connors and lots of people who worked with Miles Davis.
Man, Norman was I used Norman in the original, in my original thing, Cosmic Echoes. And Stanley Clark was playing upright bass, and Tume was on the congas, and so that's what happened.
That must have been wild times with all those amazing musicians working together and stuff.
That was it, Jay. I mean, because just like when we did Expansions, I mean, I had Cease Make Beat playing upright bass, and I wanted to combine the jazz, which is improvisation, with the funk and and they say what they call it, the fusion. And I said, I never wrote lyrics before, and all songs about crying, my baby left me. I said, no man, let's do something positive. So then I started looking around and studying all the different philosophies, and I said, wow, okay, we need to expand our mind, our consciousness, because all this craziness, because all the religions are saying the same thing, but I said, why all the confusion? So that's what I mean, expand your mind and stuff like that.
Because you helped define the whole sort of jazz funk sound. Because originally you started off in straight jazz, didn't you?
Straight jazz.
And then you went into jazz funk. How did you transition? What happened?
All before that, it was either straight ahead or like when Farrell and I were together with Leon Thomas. I mean, we just stretched out. I mean, we played. We just kept on expanding with the music. We could always swing, but then you just said, well, let's see how far we can take it. And Farrell was doing different things on his horn, and at that time, you got the 10 fingers, but I said, I want more sound. So then I was trying to get more sound out of the keyboards by using this, so you can play more keys and more than 10 keys, and so, and then we got to, people like history. We got to California, did a record called Thimby. And
that was with Pharoah Saunders, wasn't it?
Right, that's with Pharoah Saunders. And so we got in the studio, and the grand piano, I didn't have to do anything. So, but everyone else unpacking their horns, Cease Make Beat setting up the bass. And I saw this instrument in the corner, and I asked the engineer, I said, what is that? He said, that's a Fender Rhodes electric piano. Okay. I never played this. I just walked over, started messing with the knobs, and Jay, this song just came, and everybody ran over and said, what is that? I said, I don't know. I'm just writing this song right now. They said, man, we got to record this right now. What you going to call it? So I was studying astral projection, you leave your body floating. I said, okay, let's call it Astral Traveling, because it sounds like, it's floating out in space. And that was the first time I played the Fender Rhodes electric piano.
And was that your first composition as well?
Right. Because see, the grand piano has a certain color, and the Fender Rhodes has a certain color. So, and certain songs just work better. And that was the first time first song I wrote on the Fender Rhodes electric piano.
And you talked about the whole cosmic astral thing. So that's a theme running through a lot of your music. Where does that all come from? Where's your interest in that come from and stuff?
From studying, like at that time I was, all the transcendental meditation. You go to when the gurus come through New York, I would go see them, and then I was studying. Went to some of the Rosicrucian classes and went to some of the theosophical classes, because that's one thing about New York. Everything is there. I guess just like London. And so I was going to all these meetings, and so I said, wow, okay, this is amazing. Everybody, it's all one, because, like I said, everyone is basically saying the same thing. So then that's why I said, okay. And I just started expand your mind, visions of a new world, or visions of New Jerusalem, and that's what I wanted to do. I guess I expanded on the gospel concept, because they were my father was very religious, and I mean that's one thing I appreciate about him. He's very serious. He didn't do anything crazy out there like a lot of people do, and so I guess I expanded on that and just tried to take it to a whole universal concept. So, and I wanted the music to be eternal. So I don't care what country or what religion or where you were from, you could relate to it. Because I mean, we all, respect the sun and the moon and the stars. So, So it's all universal and eternal.
So we were talking earlier about your first composition, Astral Traveling,
Mm-hmm.
and that became the title of your first album.
Right.
So how did that come about? How did you get signed? As Flying Dutchman was the label. How did that all happen?
Okay, because I was working with Miles Davis, but before that, I did all these recording on Flying Dutchman, because that's what, all the Farrell's records was Bob Field was always the producer, because he produced John Coltrane, he produced, and then he produced the first Farrell records, and then he signed Leon Thomas. He said, Lonnie, come on, I need you on the record. So we did all the Leon Thomas records, Spirits Known and Unknown, and then Gato Barbieri. So I did all the Gato's albums on Flying Dutchman, and did some other ones. So then I was with Miles. So Bob called me and he said, "Oh man, Lonnie, it's time for you to do a record, because everybody's talking about you all over the world." I said, okay, then I can say, well, I have my own record. And so we had to fly back in New York, and we did it. Astral Traveling, and I used sitar and tambura, and so I was just trying to keep that universal sound. So then I said, well, okay, that's it. I've done my own record. I can tell people I have a record. So I go back work with Miles. So months later, Bob said, Lonnie, you got to put a band together. I said, what you mean? I'm not leaving Miles. And so I told Miles. Miles laughed. He said, why'd you do the record? Because he knew how it went. I said, well, so then I had to put a band together, and we did Astral Traveling, and then we did Cosmic Funk. That was Bob's concept about that couple beating up the piano. I don't know, but then when we got to Expansions, Jay, it just took off, and
we'll come on to Expansions in a minute, because obviously that's a huge track. But so you became Lonnie Liston Smith and the Cosmic Echoes. So where did the Cosmic Echoes bit come from? What?
From studying, and they said everything, all sounds that we hear are a reflection of the cosmos, and even sound and color. People, it's all one. But you really got to be a high state of consciousness to be able to hear sound and see colors, or vice versa. So see colors and hear sound. So I said, okay, the Cosmic Echoes, and that was it. So
because later you became just Lonnie Liston Smith, but you started off with Lonnie Liston Smith and the Cosmic Echoes.
Right. That was because actually everybody was doing it back then. Somebody, and because even Herbie had something, I forget the name. I forget the name he used, and Ubiquity and everything.
Okay.
So, but sometime now we'll say Lonnie Liston Smith and the new Cosmic Echoes.
So on your second album is where you first started to choose vocals. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it was on
Funk.
Cosmic Funk.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember I had two younger brothers. Donald and Ray. Ray was in the middle, and Donald was youngest, and they had a very beautiful tenor voice. So, and Ray, people don't realize Ray Smith, my middle brother, already had a hit record, a little bit of soap, Wash Away Your Tears. He was with the Jazzmatazz, but he went out there on the road, and people don't realize, a lot of times you don't get paid. Promoters, very devious. So he said, man, y'all got this crazy music business. So he came back home. So I said, I know he don't want to go back out. So I called Donald, and he said, yeah, okay. So that's how we started.
And so that leads us on to your next album, which was Expansions, obviously.
Yeah.
And so tell us about Expansions. Expansions has become like a huge, massive anthem. How did that all come about?
Well, Jay, that was it. Like I said, I started writing just lyrics, expand your mind, and then the thing I really enjoyed about it was very organic, because every musician on that record, they had been straight ahead jazz musicians, and so seems like we was playing upright bass. A lot of people thought it was electric bass, but when we went in the studio, I told them I wanted the jazz and the fusion and the funk, and so it worked. We just laid the tracks out, And when Expansions came out, the whole world said, "That's it. That's what we want." And even RCA Records, they had to. It was funny. They had to run back into the plant and put out all these new CDs. And they said, "Well, Lonnie, you're on the charts." And Jay, I was really naive. I said, "What charts?" And they said, "Oh man, you're on all the Billboard charts, and jazz charts, and you better go get a manager." So it was a learning process.
In those days, it would have been vinyl. It would have been vinyl rather than CDs.
Oh yeah, it was all man. It was all vinyl. And shoot, that's the funny part. Back then, they were splicing tape, in the studios. But now it's nothing like that.
No, it's all digital now. So that started off a whole massive career, effectively.
Right, that was it.
Because how many albums have you done now? 19 or something?
Yeah.
19 albums.
Right.
Incredible, and lots of different labels. So what was the relationship with RCA? Because you then went to RCA and then later Columbia and then later after that Dr. Jazz.
Right, but it was well. Columbia wasn't, but all was Bob Thiel was really RCA. It was Flying Dutchman RCA, so he signed it with RCA with his company. So Bob Thiel also was Dr. Jazz. So when with RCA was great because when Expansions came out, it just took off. So then they had to in-house everything, promotion. So they did everything. Either took the pictures, the PR, set up interviews. So that was great. And then so all the records were really selling. So then they got this deal with Sony or Columbia then, but it's then Sony, and that was interesting because you're on the same label with Barbra Streisand and everybody, and so they assigned you a producer. But Brett Brigato, he was good because he was a arranger also. So that worked out.
And then obviously you had loads of albums: Vision of a New World, Reflections of a Golden Dream, Renaissance. On Visions of a New World, I was going to ask you about A Chance for Peace, because peace becomes a theme as well in a lot of your music. So talk to me about that and how that sort of.
Well, it was because at that time, it was I call it a lot of chaos and confusion going on, and wars going on around the world. So I said, wow, why is it? Because basically, I said, we all saying the same thing. We all want the same thing. We might speak a different language, and so I said, well, let's just give peace a chance and try to work it out. And right today, still same problems. So and that's what I did. Would give peace a chance, and and the world said, okay, so we like that also.
So it's as relevant today as it was then.
That's it, Jay. That's and so I keep trying to, because music is a universal language. So I'm trying to do my part.
And then one of your later albums, Renaissance, Renaissance is a great track, and Mardi Gras as well became a big track.
Right. Yeah, I didn't realize how big Mardi Gras was until started coming over here to Europe, and I should have played it last night. I forgot, because I started playing. What was I play? 1, 2, 3. But the fourth song I played sort of, and when I started, I said, "Oh no, I should have played Mardi Gras," but I forgot. When I come over here, everybody want to hear Mardi Gras.
It's a big record, yeah.
Yeah, I wish somebody had yelled it last night, so I went right into it.
A lot of your music over the years has been sampled by lots of different people. There's tracks like, for example, Bridge Through Time, which has been sampled a lot. So tell me about all that and how you feel about people using your music and stuff.
It's great. Especially when they do all the business correctly, because what really blew my mind, the song I did, Garden of Peace, because it's just I did when I went into the studio. I said, look, I just want to do something I want to do, and I sat down at the grand piano and wrote this song, and then I overdubbed the electric piano. That's all it is, and years later, everybody's sampling Jay-Z, Mary J. Blige, Young Jesus and Neo and a whole bunch of other people. But what really inspires me, young kids will walk up, 15, 16 on up, and they say, "Oh man, that's a beautiful song." Because kids, they want that everything got to be up, but they really love A Garden of Peace, and and it's just a beautiful song.
So has it led to a younger generation discovering your music?
That's it. That's a lot of people, so-called purists, get upset about people sampling and things like that, but they don't realize the young kids is discovering jazz through the samples, because they hear the music in the background, then they say, "Well, what is that?" And then they go find the original, and then that's how they find you.
And that led on to you worked with Guru, didn't you, on Jazzmatazz?
Oh, right.
So that's sort of, I guess, the transition, I suppose. People sampling your stuff, and then you actually helping create sort of modern.
Because Guru was on EMI, I think, and they call and they say, and they did everything properly. They said, "Okay, we'll give you this," and then they flew me to New York, and the thing was, when each track had a different jazz artist, and when the CD came out, the whole industry went crazy. MTV don't have too much jazz. They started chasing us, talking, "Oh man, we got to put you on MTV. This is history. Rap meets jazz." That's the way they looked at it. And Jazzmatazz, it took off.
So you had a spell at Columbia, and we talked about some of the albums that you put out there, and then you signed to Dr. Jazz. So how did that come about?
Well, I did, I think, 4 records for Columbia. And then Bob started another label, Dr. Jazz. He was good at starting labels, but Bob was he produced, like I said, John Coltrane, all those records. He produced Duke Ellington and John Coltrane. He produced. He goes all the way back to what's that? The Harley. What's it? The guy that died in the plane, Buddy Harley. Mm-hmm. Bob, he produced Buddy way back. So
you've had a long relationship with him all the way through your career.
And because he never got in your way, Jay. That was the main thing. He just, he joke around sometimes. He said, "Lonnie, I got a song for you. It's called Dumpy Mama." I said, "No, Bob, that's not cosmic. I can't do that." so he'd laugh, and but he'd let you go to the studio, just do what you're supposed to be doing, and. So
he's a bit like the Rick Rubin of contemporary music. He's the Rick Rubin of jazz, that kind of thing. Maybe.
Okay, that's good. I thought right. That makes sense. And and then we started with Dr. Jazz, and I forget how many records we did, and that's when because that's when I heard this little young kid, Marcus Miller. Mm-hmm. He was only about 15 or 16 then, and he was jamming. I said, "Wow, he sounds good." Because me and Miles used to talk about that all the time. You can hear the potential in a young person. And I said, "Okay." So then he put his bass down. He said, "I got a song for you." I said, "Okay, what song is this?" So he went over to the electric piano, started playing. Doom, 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 doom. I said, "Oh." Then there's Journey into Love. Mm-hmm. So I was getting ready to go in the studio. I think I was getting ready to do Love Land. And
that's right, yeah.
So I took him into the studio. Oh, gee. Columbia got upset. They said, "Why are you bringing this young kid in here?" And so I didn't say nothing. And so we started playing, and after the first couple of songs, then everybody quieted down, and all of a sudden they pulling Marcus over to the corner. I said, "Oh," so the rest is history.
That was a wonderful record. That was a wonderful track, classic track. So on Dr. Jazz, you had another one of your really big records, Never Too Late.
Oh yeah, and that was Marcus, and that was the first time Marcus. I let him. We co-produced, mm-hmm. So and. That was it. That's one thing I liked about him. He understood the artist, so he could do that. He did the same thing with Sanborn. He could write a song that was you. That's it.
And then around that time, you had quite a big record here. I don't know if you know it. No, it was big here, but "Say You Love Me," which came out just as a single in the UK.
No kidding, because I know I did that, and I didn't know, and so it really did good, huh? Mm-hmm. Isn't that something? Oh, well, that's good to hear.
In the sort of jazz funk scene here in the UK, it was a very popular record.
Well, I'll be down. I'm going to go try to find that. Maybe it's on YouTube. Okay. Say You Love Me.
Because that never came on any of your albums, did it? It was just on a
right. Single. No, that was something. I think I was over here, mm-hmm. and the guy, approached me, and so I said okay, and it was like you said. I guess they call it one-off, mm-hmm. and I never knew what happened.
Yeah. No, it was popular, particularly in the mid-'80s. It was a popular record.
Okay.
So then, after the Dr. Jazz period, you then worked with Norman Connors and did the Love Goddess album. It was a great album.
Well, yeah, that was some people in Baltimore, because I went to college in Baltimore, so I spent a lot of time there. So this guy was starting a label, Star Trek Records. So I said, okay, well maybe this will be different, because the major labels it can be very complicated. So we did that, and but that was something new for them. Mm-hmm. So they didn't know exactly what to do with it, but I think the record did good though. Because
you worked with Phyllis Hyman and Gene Khan on that as well, didn't you?
Oh right, yeah.
And was that the first time you worked with different vocalists apart from your brother and stuff? Or?
Right, first time, because the first female, I think the only two female vocals I really used was Phyllis and Gene, because we used to do shows together, mm-hmm. and they both can sing, so that was it. So it was just a natural, because we'd already been doing all-star tours together. You might have 4 or 5 artists, and everybody uses the same rhythm section, mm-hmm. so there's no set change, and it's easy. Like I might do 3 or 4 songs, then I leave and introduce the next, and they come right on, and everything keeps flowing.
So is that how that came about? How that collaboration came about? Because you were on the road.
Oh yeah, right. That was it. Yeah.
And now you travel with a female vocalist, don't you?
Right. Actually, that's the drummer's sister, mm-hmm. and she. I joke around with her, but she's a graduate of the same Morgan State University, and so I joke around with her. I said, well, I'm much younger than you are, but she's very talented. Actually, they all play piano and do everything.
And even more recently, you did a cover of Don Blackman and Weldon Irvin's "I Love You" with Gerald Anthony.
Yeah. Oh, wow, boy, y'all do all that research. Okay. What happened was, he's from Richmond, so I live in Richmond, and he wanted everybody on the album to be from Virginia. So he called me, and I said, and I liked him. I liked his personality. He wasn't crazy, even though he's very respectful. So I said, okay, and actually the song is another guy from down in the Virginia area. I forget his name, but he wrote the song. And
Don Blackman.
Oh, did Blackman wrote that one?
I think he wrote it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we went into the studio, and they already laid down the tracks. So I just we just laid down different sections, and then they put it all together, and. So that was. Did it get much play over here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh. Because the original Weldon Irvin, Don Blackman's a very popular record in the UK.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, Weldon Irvin. So was Don wrote the song?
I think Don wrote it. Yeah.
Because I know Weldon Irvin was associated with it.
Yeah, it was on his album. It was on the Sinbad album by Weldon Irvin. But Don Blackman's vocals, and I think Don Blackman wrote it as well.
Okay, I do some research, because Don had one song I really, really loved. I forget the name of it.
Loving You, or
right, probably was, yeah. And then I found out he wrote some great songs for Earth, Wind and Fire. I didn't know. So.
Yeah, he's got some amazing catalogue, Don Blackman.
That's good.
And so was that a rare occurrence for you to record? Do you still do much recording?
We just right now the record business is so crazy, and the record companies they trying to figure out what to do, because now these young kids can use these computers Which I mean, I'm not that familiar with it, but they can do a recording in your living room anywhere. And actually, I've seen them on the tour bus with the Pro Tools and all that.
Yeah, Pro Tools.
I said, wow, and they be doing things right there. I said, oh man, this is amazing. So as soon as I find the right situation, yeah, because I got a lot of songs. So
you're still writing a lot, are you?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And how do you write? How do you write your music? What's the process?
Just go in and sit down at either the grand or grand piano or the electric piano at home, and it's mostly inspiration. Because I remember I was in the music store years ago in New York, and you'd be trying out all these different electric, because they always come up with a new one. And I got the idea right in the music store for Song of Love. You know, you start doing something and you say, oh, okay. You know, I like to do everything, be inspired or inspiration, things like that. So, yeah.
Cool.
TV, and I'm in conversation with NYC producer John Morales. John.
Hello.
It's a pleasure seeing you here today. Thank you for taking the time to come down to our